While conversations are still ongoing about who's going to play the next James Bond in Denis Villeneuve's upcoming Bond 26, there's an equally important question about who's going to be the movie's female lead alongside him. All the best James Bond movies have a so-called Bond girl to keep the secret agent in check while giving the stories a more emotional, personal dimension. Plenty of names have been thrown into the ring for Bond 26, but the studio has yet to officially cast anybody in this crucial role. Amazon has offered plenty of advice about what they're looking for in James Bond, but their criteria for the Bond girl have been much less public. Whether the movie goes for an evil Bond girl or a classic love interest, there's plenty of potential. 6. Sydney Sweeney. Starred in Euphoria and Anyone But You. Sydney Sweeney has become one of the leading names in the discussion for Bond 26 female lead in recent months, with certain reports indicating that she may be Villeneuve's top choice for his Bond girl. Although nothing official has been noted, this definitely makes sense given her growing popularity and box office reliability. Sweeney has tried her hand at countless genres over the past few years, flexing both her dramatic muscles in projects like Euphoria and Echo Valley, and she's capable of more comedic, romantic roles in projects like Anyone But You. The best Bond girls typically blend these two styles together, which is why she's become such a popular choice. Although Sweeney has never worked with Villeneuve before, the actor will definitely be on the filmmaker's radar following the recent reports, making her casting increasingly likely. Amazon has also indicated that they're looking for a younger, more A-list actor to adopt the lead role of James Bond, so it makes sense that the studio would be looking for similar traits in Bond 26 female lead. 5. Margaret Qualley. Starred in The Substance and Poor Things. Following her surprise involvement with the James Bond musical tribute at this year's Academy Awards, Margaret Qualley's name has been consistently raised in discussions about Bond 26 casting. The actor hasn't said anything official about her involvement, and the news certainly would have broken by now, but many viewers took her performance to be a not-so-subtle tease about her involvement in Bond 26. Although this doesn't seem to have been the case, Qualley is still a perfect candidate for Villeneuve's upcoming James Bond movie. The actor is more popular than ever following her Best Picture-nominated film The Substance last year, and she's got the same charming blend of comedy and drama that makes her a fierce contender. At 30 years old, Qualley is the perfect age for the filmmaker's likely younger take on the James Bond character. In Amazon's shortlist for ideal Bond candidates, the studio executives indicated they were looking for somebody in their early 30s to carry the franchise into the future. Qualley could do exactly that. 4. Zendaya. Starred in Challengers and Dune. When it was announced that Villeneuve would be directing Bond 26, many people understandably looked to the director's previous filmography to speculate on certain actors that he may bring back for his next movie. The director has a habit of working with the same people on multiple occasions, whether that's Jake Gyllenhaal in Enemy and Prisoners or Josh Brolin in Sicario and Dune. If the director opts to bring back a returning star that he's worked with before, Zendaya could be a perfect choice for his Bond girl. Like the previous candidates, she's the perfect age to perform alongside a younger Bond, and her recent involvement in movies like Challengers and Spider-Man: No Way Home proves she's a huge box office draw. This is exactly the kind of A-list star that Amazon will be looking for in their new James Bond franchise, and it's clear that the studio has a certain level of involvement in the casting process. It's also worth noting that Zendaya's partner, Tom Holland, was among the studio's top choices for James Bond, so the actor will certainly be on the casting director's radar. 3. Zoe Kravitz. Starred in The Batman and Big Little Lies. Zoe Kravitz is somewhat of an outside pick for Bond 26 female lead, but her name has generated some traction over the past few months. The actor first entered the conversation following her performance in The Batman, which was released shortly after Daniel Craig bowed out in No Time to Die, and has remained there ever since. Over the past few years, Kravitz has primarily turned her attention to filmmaking, with her directorial debut, Blink Twice, receiving huge acclaim. She will also be returning for The Batman, Part 2, but that sequel is notoriously being held back by constant delays and script rewrites, meaning her schedule should be fairly free. And in terms of her acting style, Kravitz would make for a totally different kind of Bond girl. Her role in The Batman allowed her to blend a sharply seductive charm with a more cagey independence that would be fascinating to see in the Bond franchise. Villeneuve is often praised for his complex female characters, and there's no reason to believe that will be any different in Bond 26. 2. Florence Pugh. Starred in Dune, Part 2 and Thunderbolts**. Although Florence Pugh hadn't worked alongside Denis Villeneuve until his second Dune movie, the pair have a good professional relationship that could easily make her a strong contender for a role in Bond 26. She is among the most acclaimed and popular female actors of her generation, and there would be few more deserving of this coveted franchise role. Pugh has consistently proven that she's capable of tackling all genres, with projects like Oppenheimer and Dune, Part 2 serving as evidence of her more dramatic, nuanced side, while films such as We Live in Time and Little Women demonstrate a more charming, charismatic dimension. These are key traits of James Bond's female leads. Audiences have understandably been looking at the Dune franchise for suggestions about who to cast in Bond 26, and Pugh seems like the most plausible choice. While actors like Josh Brolin and Rebecca Ferguson have often been tapped as Bond villains, the younger criteria for Bond makes Pugh the most sensible choice. 1. Mikey Madison. Starred in Scream and Anora. Following her historic Best Actress win at this year's Academy Awards, Mikey Madison has become one of the most sought-after talents in the whole industry. Since winning her award, she has signed up for 2 projects, a dark crime thriller called Reptilia and a modern reimagining of Edgar Allan Poe's The Mask of the Red Death. The actor reportedly passed on a role in Sean Levy's upcoming Star Wars project, meaning there's plenty of room in her schedule for another major blockbuster franchise. Madison's role in Anora was an excellent display of both deep vulnerability and rich charisma, which could make for a fascinating twist on the often two-dimensional Bond girl role. Villeneuve is known for his deep character work and thematic storytelling, which could definitely separate his upcoming Bond 26 project from those that preceded it. Madison is exactly the kind of talented, nuanced actor who could bring a more layered dimension to her Bond girl, going beyond the typical love interest archetype and digging into something more complex alongside the movie's new James Bond.